Salve, Discipuli. Here we are at Tiberius chapter 62.2. Again, we're in the section where Suetonius is trying to establish the fact, by numerous examples, that Tiberius erupted. That's what we read about earlier in chapter 42. He erupted, well, at the beginning of 43, into all kinds of vice. Like it had just been pent up inside of him, and now all the frustration of his life and his situation just came pouring out in these most bizarre ways. Well, we bypassed chapters 43 and 4, which were quite perverted, and that was his sexual excesses. Now, in chapter 60, our previous reading, and 62.2, we have highlighting something that was just so un-Roman, and that was excessive cruelty. Romans were cruel, and they tolerated cruelty, but there was a point where, that's a little bit too much. And this is what Suetonius, the kind of picture he's trying to paint of the emperor. Okay? So, Tiberius is on Capri, and he's out of the public eye, and apparently he's just doing all this bizarre stuff. Whether that be excessive partying, or debauchery, or perversion, and now we add to the list cruelty. There's a difference between this chapter and the previous one, chapter 60, that's in your textbook. The previous chapter focused on the stories of 3 individuals. Now, this particular section focuses on 2 more examples, but they're really groups of people. One group is the damnatos. I should say that. Okay, one group is the damnatos, the condemned. Okay, and the other one is the oneratos, the burdened, okay, or filled up. Okay, so there are these 2 groups. One is judgment. The second one is really kind of bizarre. It starts here. Okay, that's kind of the second example. So we really have 2 sentences that we're dealing with. All right? And again, they're to illustrate the cruelty of the Emperor Tiberius. Now, to start out here, let's go with green. Ostenditor, I would take that impersonally. There is shown, or it is shown. Okay? What is shown? A locus. What kind of locus? Okay? This word is in the back. Carnificina. Okay? A place of his torture. Okay? Carnificia. Now, remember, with the names of small islands such as Capri, okay, what case is that, and what does that tell you? All right? Now, eubebat damnatos, okay? Praecipitare. That's my basic sentence. All right? Eubebat, yellow. Okay? Eubebat damnatos praecipitare. Eubio can be followed by a indirect command, but usually eubio is just followed by an infinitive like we have here, praecipitare. All right? And this is after post longa exquisita tormenta. Okay? And then this all happens coram se, all right? And eubebat damnotus in mare praecipitari. Now, this little ablative absolute clause is a little bit difficult because we have a plural subject. The classiariorium are the rowers or people in the boats, the navy. Classiarius is sometimes translated as marine. Okay, so the soldiers who travel by boat. Okay, so whatever, we have this, but this should just be in general. Yes, we have more than one. We have a classiariorum. We have multiple in the boat, but he uses the singular excipiente manu. Okay, and then cantis et remis looks like an ablative absolute, but they're not. They are ablatives, but they're not participles, okay? They're just nouns, okay? You probably recognize this English word, cadavera, and why did he have them do that? Ne in esset, okay? This is really the subject right here, quicquam, and residui spiritus, the genitive that goes off of quicquam, a partitive. Okay, so this is a pretty common Latin way of saying it, just like they say quid novi for what of new. Make sure you recognize what case cui is, cui, and why it is that case. Okay, so that's one example of his cruelty, but these were damnatos. These were people who were condemned in the court of justice, and this was their punishment. Okay, but it just seems, Romans, if they were citizens, had the right to a quick death. We know that from countless places in the history books, but were these Romans, were they slaves, whatever, he got a kick out of it, out of first torturing them and then sending them to their final destiny. Now, okay, this word here, not just cogito, but excogito, here in the pluperfect, to dream up or to think up. So this is an interesting word, okay? And the reason here is because it gives the idea that he's just sitting around the island doing nothing but dreaming up these bizarre things to do, in this case to apparently friends of his, with whom he's partying. All right? So now make sure you recognize here this has to be intergenera cruciatus. Okay? All right. Now, ablative absolute down here. Okay. Here, ablative, take that all as a chunk. Per fallicium, through deception. Okay. This is what he did. He distenderet the honoratos. Now, why are they so burdened? Okay. This word right here, veratris, you're not going to find in your dictionary. Okay, so I'll just give it to you. Veratris, from veratrum, veratria, neuter noun, which means private parts. Okay, private parts. All right, so we have a little ablative absolute here, and he's getting a kick out of this. Now, this word, your notes explain a little bit. Fides, of course, means trust, but it was also the word for harp or lyre. And we know what an old guitar looked like, right? An old lyre. It had strings, so did the harp. So apparently there was some kind of torture instrument that they nicknamed the lyre or the strings. So maybe it's a rack with poles or strings that they lay you on, but, okay, and I think you can get this word, and you can kind of get the picture. It involves wine, all right, merry, and you can imagine how painful this is going to be, but somehow he just kind of gets a kick out of this, and enjoys watching them writhe in pain. So, the picture that Suetonius paints for his readers is of a pretty sick individual, who just gets his kick out of doing the most bizarre and cruel things to other people. But even though it's going to be beyond our reading, because we're ending with our study of Tiberius here and going on with Caligula, as you see at the bottom of the screen there, nonetheless, the final hatred that Suetonius portrays in his biography of Tiberius is that of deep self-hatred. He just loathed his own existence. So that's where this is all going to end. But as I said, that's beyond this. So you have a little shorter section, and you have time to really parse it out. Not just get the translation, but figure out how they got to that translation and put it together and know the grammar of how that makes the translation. Okay? All right. Thus endeth Tiberius on Capri. Vale.